Okay, we're live. Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast. I'm Chris Garner, joined with my co-host George Aldridge, and today we're going to do a bit of a discussion on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. We really haven't had all that much of an in-depth conversation about it. We've only brought up little bits and pieces, but so more than anything, this is really getting your thoughts out there, because I did a reaction on the channel, which you can click if you go through our older videos, you'll see it on there. But I really haven't heard that much for you, so really just kick off with overall opinions on the trailer and which one moment got you the most, and then we'll sort of pick up the discussion from there.
Before I get to that, I'm just going to mention that this is the latest I've ever seen a Star Wars trailer, right? In the sense that I was at an interview on Thursday and I came out at about 2 o'clock, or was it 3 o'clock? And I had about 10 messages off my phone, on Facebook, text, WhatsApp, Snapchat, everything. Because obviously it's me, everyone was sending me stuff. So I was 2 hours late, which is the latest I've ever seen a Star Wars trailer in approximately 13 years.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I was going to say, you're usually on the money, aren't you? And I remember I was freaking out. We got that 11 to 13 second one, the teaser trailer, which was saying the trailer's coming tomorrow. And you messaged me like, I'm probably going to miss this trailer. I didn't expect it to go up as early as it did. I think it came out about 1 in the afternoon for us in the UK. I was expecting it much later in the evening, but yeah, I bet that was bloody torture then, wasn't it? Having to wait that long for it.
When you're standing outside a university with an iPad and 6 people around you watching the trailer, then you know, there's something right. But literally, the Force Awakens, the final trailer, I had an alarm set at 3 a.m. to watch that. The foreign trailer, I just remember seeing it online within 10 minutes of it coming out. I didn't mean to, but I did. So I remember the one I sent you.
Yeah.
With 3, I remember seeing that trailer on the computer like 10 years ago when like StarWars.com was a big thing for fans. So yeah, it was pretty late, which was embarrassing, but I still saw it 2 hours later, but I haven't really been able to chat about it. I haven't rewatched it 100 times like the first Force Awakens one, which I did make my sister pull over on the motorway to watch. There you go. That's another example of that one happening.
We are dedicated Star Wars fans. You probably more so in that instance.
It's extreme. We could have died. I just passed a theory test and I found out for the past 2 years that everything I did and made her do was wrong.
That would be a great thing to put on a death certificate, though, right? Like cause of death, Star Wars. Like that's every Star Wars fan's dream, right?
But yeah, I'll go into the trailer. I was impressed more than I thought I would be. When they said it was going to be a teaser trailer, I thought it'd be a bit like the Star Wars Celebration kind of pre-visual effects footage of maybe dialogue and something. But to me, it felt like a proper trailer rather than a teaser. And
yes, yeah. I mean, if you're going to compare it to the Force Awakens one, you remember the first trailer from that? It was like a collection of like 5 disjointed images, wasn't it? Just like cut to black, next scene. Yeah. So I was shocked as well that this is pretty much, I think it's still classed as a teaser trailer, which is, I don't know what counts as a teaser now and an actual trailer, because this to me was an actual trailer.
Yeah, and kudos to Disney, they didn't give a lot away. They identify the protagonist, you see a little bit, you can see the villain that's shaping up the film. I thought it was a really well done trailer. They only showed us things we knew, which is their credit. I'm going to talk about my favourite bit, then it has to be the Death Star. We all know the film's about the Death Star, but it was just the shadow of the sort of Star Destroyer coming out, and then, they're kind of putting that final touch, which you wouldn't think that would be the final bit they put into the Death Star.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like a big foundation piece, isn't it?
It looked really cool, so I was just shocked at how brilliant the VFX looks. I mean, visual effects, yes, but a lot of it looked like models, especially them Star Destroyers. But I loved the whole thing. I was blown away. I knew it was going to be a gritty war film. And obviously, we haven't seen the film yet, so we can't judge. But from what I saw, the film looks almost done. I mean, we're kind of forgetting we're 8 months away now.
Mm.
It's obviously the finished film, and they're probably in the VFX scene bits, the music bits, but it was really cool. I think they showed more than I thought they would. That's not a bad thing. That's a great thing, because clearly they've got more finished than I thought, i.e. the AT-ATs. But no, I loved it, and especially the Donnie Yen stuff. Love that, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what's interesting is we ultimately know how the story all pans out with the Death Star and the plans and everything like that, but because this is an entire cast of new characters and also some kind of ethnicities we've never really seen in Star Wars before, it's all interesting stuff. So they might make it through the end of this movie. They might all die. They might still be alive during the original trilogy, going on missions and going their separate ways and stuff like that. But they said it from the beginning when they said that, I think some of the people on the team worked on Saving Private Ryan and things like that, and they said this is going to be the first Star Wars war movie, and you definitely can tell that from the trailer. Absolutely love how they've set the oppositions up. It actually looks like the Empire's imposing in this one. That was one of the biggest criticisms of the original trilogy. You never really got that sense from the stormtroopers and the Death Star and everything like that. But just seeing the Death Star again, fully completed now, is really awesome. And especially if you're going to watch these in order, where you see it being constructed at the end of episode 3, you jump into this one, it's being finished, and then you see it in all its glory in the in A New Hope. So yeah, that shot was great. As you said about how it looks, very Force Awakens. They're still keeping it as much practical as they can. Real sets, costumes, and they probably use some models. It's at the point now where I can't really tell which stuff is CGI and what isn't. If I'm going to go for a favourite moment, though, it was actually more of a character reveal for me. Seeing Mon Mothma again. I really don't know why, but I mean, it's probably because we haven't seen her. She was in Return of the Jedi. That was her first ever appearance. And then I think she was in a deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith.
You can see her background.
Council meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same actress they've used from Revenge of the Sith. So technically this is her first time in a Star Wars movie. But I don't know. I really got that nostalgic feeling again, like I did when I first saw the Force Awakens trailer. Regardless of my thoughts on the film afterwards, but that first trailer really hit that nostalgia for me. And it's amazing because this film does look like it's from 1977 in some scenes. There's like a sandy planet. I know I'm going all over the place with this, but this is discussion, but it looks like we're actually getting new planets in this one as well as characters, which is really cool as a Star Wars fan. We're going to have more action figures to buy, more names and planets to learn. That's what I love about getting all these new movies.
Yeah, and going off the merchandise, I know they've announced a Force Friday for this year. I don't think I'm going to be spending £400 this time. I physically can't afford to, although I'll probably have more money. I'm going to do everything I can not to. I've already got, one copy of the Force Awakens on order, and another 2 are probably going to be bought on Monday. But there's so much. I mean, the Mon Mothma stuff was great because I had no idea she'd be in it. It makes sense for her to be in it because she's part of the rebellion. Because she's on episode 4, you don't really think she'd be seen. So in theory, there could be an Akbar present somewhere. In the end,
he was in Force Awakens, wasn't he? But I think it was the voice actor, wasn't it, of Admiral Akbar? He died like about a week ago. Absolutely gutted.
But it's one of them where they've kind of talk. I was saying this to you on chat that I'm a big Harry Potter fan. It kind of, when it finished, it did what Star Wars did. Star Wars finished, and then I loved it, but I got over it, if that makes sense. And then I did Harry Potter. But when Star Wars resurfaced, expanded universe, that's all great. Whereas Harry Potter's gone in this different direction where you've got so much mythology to tell, and Harry Potter's fucked it up by doing a book, a textbook that they read in Hogwarts, which looks not that good as a big Harry Potter fan. This is in the right chat, but for Disney to take their first sort of Star Wars spin-off and say, this is what we're doing. It's almost episode like 3.9, you can call it, but it's going to be great. And what we've seen, that's the right sort of thing you want in an expanded universe, because you can have people cutting in that make cameos that make sense, not the Marvel stuff where they're just placed there for a bizarre reason. Everything we see is going to be integral to the future films, and that's what I'm really excited by from it.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people already, I think they've shut the rumours down, but there was that whole rumour that came out that Felicity Jones's main character of Jyn Erso is actually going to be Rey's mum. I didn't buy into that for a start, but it's interesting how people are already trying to connect the spin-off films to the newer ones. And I think we're all a bit concerned, weren't we, at the start when they announced they were going to do these spin-off films in between the main trilogy. I mean, part of the magic of Star Wars, right, is the anticipation. It's the waiting. You don't want to wait 2 years for the next one, but you're going to have to, and the hype's going to be building the whole time. You're going to get little teasers thrown out there of sets and vehicles, new characters, things like that. But with one a year, people, I would say, are still very much in Force Awakens mode. That's partially down to it just about to come out on DVD and Blu-ray. But Do you think many people even know this is a thing? Well, I guess like diehard Star Wars fans do, but I mean the casual viewer. Do you think this will get a big turnout still, like all the other Star Wars movies?
When the thing with Force Awakens is it was the most hyped up film in film history. You argue the two before that is genuinely, from a non-biased point of view, the Phantom Menace and the original Star Wars, because the original Star Wars just, that came out and it was massive. Whereas Episode 1 had the hype. Obviously, that didn't ultimately live up to it, whereas Episode 7 did. I know you've got different thoughts on that, but to the mass audience,
oh yeah,
lived up to it. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to think this is Star Wars 8. I think as we get closer to release, they're going to realise that it's part of the sort of expanded universe type. I think, to be fair, to Marvel's credit, people will get that they do the Avengers spin-off films than the main film, so I'm guessing they're going to realise this is a similar pattern now. But I think this will still be a very big hit. I don't think it's going to make the money 7 does. I don't think any film, not even 8 or 9, is going to make the money Episode 7 does. But it's still probably going to get $1 billion plus.
I was going to say it's still going to get those repeat viewings because you can keep making Star Wars films, and they probably will for like the next 50 years. And the diehard fans who have followed the series and continue to follow it will always go and see one regardless, multiple times each.
Exactly.
I just think that, as you said, people might be a bit confused. Like they'll sit down and be like, a 4th Death Star? What's all this about? Again, we're seeing the same things. But I personally like that they're going back now and sort of fleshing out some of these areas. I think there's some stories that don't really need to be told, like they're doing the Han Solo origin movie. I don't think we really need that one. I think how Episode 7 ended, especially for you had a much bigger emotional response to that than I did, but that would be nice to just leave the character. But now you're going to kind of get him again, but not quite. So stories like that I don't think really need to be told, but especially the stories in between 3 and 4, the ones that impact the trilogy overall, like this one is, then these are the ones I'm more excited for. Right, we've been talking for quite a while, but we need to get into the nitty-gritty of this. So let's talk about main character then a bit. So Jyn Erso, she gives a name in the trailer, Felicity Jones. In all honesty, I have never seen Felicity Jones in anything before. I checked all her credits. It's a name I've heard thrown around there a lot, but I haven't really seen her in a lot. And now I've seen the trailer and I've sort of processed it and everything like that. I do find a bit of her dialogue to be a bit cringeworthy in the trailer. I'm not going to lie.
I wouldn't say that. I don't find the dialogue cringy. I find one letter and one word of "I rebel" cringy. Yeah. I don't want to sound bad. It's a trailer. It's a great trailer line, but I really didn't like that. I don't want to sound bad because I really love this trailer, but that was something that felt too cheesy, and not even the George Lucas dialogue cheesy. I'm hoping that was just a trailer line because that just doesn't make sense for the film.
It's the way she like says the line as well, like all her dialogue through the trailer, she's doing this weird thing with a voice, and I really hope to God that that's not going to be the character all the way through. I'll probably see the movie and love her character in all honesty, because the final shot of this trailer, she looks like an absolute badass, but that trailer did, in my reaction, I didn't show it because I think I was still caught up in the hype, but like there was a little part of my brain going like, oh, I didn't quite like that line.
She looks like a badass. I really hope. I mean, we mentioned the Rey's parents rumor. I hope to God that's not true. I know it won't be true, but these expanded films are for us to take the stories away from the Skywalkers, and that would be a bad direction in the sense that you've got an expanded universe that's actually restricted if you make this the mother of Rey. And then you're going to have some people suddenly say that this is Luke's future wife or some nonsense like that. She, again, if anything, she looks more like a Han Solo. She, you know, they're showing her shooting people at the start. She looks like a pretty cool kind of badass so far. So clearly she's got the action sort of aspects going.
I've got the trailer up now, and that final scene where she's in the black armor, that's an Empire logo.
Oh, yeah.
So she has infiltrated that successfully, and it's quite weird how the voice at the end, I think it's Forrest Whitaker's voice at the end of the trailer, it has a kind of echo effect on it, and it almost sounds like Vader. So a lot of people have been saying in the comments.
I think she's, well, it looks like a TIE Fighter's in outfit. Let me get really geeky here. It's got the sort of blue sticker on the front. You can see there's padded shaping coming there.
Well, that's a cape, right? That's like a half cape she's got going on.
Yeah, and then it looks like there's like Kick-Ass's batons on the back. So
Yeah.
this could be a cool crossover, and it looks very, very Bespin. We know that's obviously the Death Star. You can tell by the color design, the sort of shininess of it. But she looks really cool at the end, and the way Forrest Whitaker's talking, it sounds like she's going to go on some kind of journey. Is she going to turn evil? I doubt that, but is she going to have a nice ending? This is what I'm living, because difference with the prequels, me and you grew up with them, but also if I'd have been at my age when we saw the prequels, I mean, I still knew at the age of 7 or 8, but you knew that Anakin was never going to die. You knew he'd turn as Darth Vader. You knew that Kenobi couldn't die. You knew that R2-D2 C-3PO couldn't die. You know who would die Jedi-wise. They all looked to go. Even with this film, we know the final outcome, but they might all die, or none of them might die, or 3 of them might die, 3 of them might live. It's something like that, which I love. Again, that was the same episode 7. Tate predicted Finn would get wrecked. Sorry, I almost said the wrong word there. And then he got a lightsaber back from his fight. So, yeah, this is what I'm liking. They can all die, to be fair. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Princess Leia cameo right at the end, or a sort of not C2D2, R2D2 C3PO one.
I've been interested.
I think this film will finish literally with the plans going on the Tantine for jetting off. Episode 4 will begin, which will be really cool. But just going off her, she's going to be integral to the story, and based off this story, she's genuinely integral to the downfall of the Empire, which is really cool. Again, something's going to happen because they wouldn't have had that specific dialogue put into it.
Yeah, and I do think I'd agree with you there that the ending's going to, with a prequel, especially like this that comes right before episode 4, it's going to have that very Hobbit Battle of the Five Armies type ending where it links straight into the next one. I would think that'd be pretty cool. I don't want them to sort of have the end shot be the Star Destroyer about to go over the camera or something like that, then cut it, because I think that shot should be saved for the opening.
You could have literally the plans. You know, in episode 3, it finishes with R2-D2 and C-3PO on the Tantine IV, who are magically there for 19 years now. It'd be cool if that ship could be a final scene or something, but this is so close to the start of episode 4. I mean, they used that, you know, the weapon's going to be tested imminently, which clearly means it's going to be within a few days of sort of screen time action. They are based at Yavin 4, which is really cool to kind of come back to. They're wearing the Rebel gear from this Tantine IV that gets, you know, destroyed at the end. So in terms of story, this is clearly like maybe even a week before episode 4. You never know. This could be months before episode 4, or days, or maybe even hours. You never know, which is something really cool, which we'll obviously find out nearer the time. But in terms of the set design, you see all at the start. Mon Mothma hasn't changed her clothes in the well, would say it's 4 years, I think, between episode 4 and 6. So yeah, she needs a wash. But that's it's cool casting though, getting the woman that did the episode 3 stuff. It's kind of an Easter egg in itself, but she just looks exactly
actress, I was just going to say that actress, she looks identical to the original one. I was going to say as well, oh, and the thing about the Death Star as well, which is kind of cool, as a viewer, we ultimately know what the weapon's capable of, but it's interesting that these characters are in a place where they don't know. That they know that a weapons test is going to happen with this thing they're constructing, but they have no idea of its capabilities, which is a really cool threat to go up against, I would say. And you mentioned before we hit record, it's one of my favourite moments as well, hearing that Death Star siren again. Really, really awesome. It built up all the way through the trailer. And it was just all the little things like that, whether it's visual, like seeing the Star Destroyers and the Death Star. And there's something always sort of awe-inspiring and cool about seeing Star Destroyers and Death Stars. Even in the episode 7 trailer where you see the crashed one in the Jakku Desert, it was awesome. But hearing that sound as well, and I don't think we've really heard that siren since the original trilogy. To my mind, anyway, I can't really think there was one like that.
I always think of it with Battlefront 2. When in the space battles, the siren zone goes, you know, this is not a drill. And when I heard it, it was just brilliant. I just love that siren. It sounds so much like Alien, but it was just a very cool little nod. But what I've kind of thought in the past minute or two, literally, it's come into my head that kids are going to see this film that haven't seen episode 4, 5, 6, or 7. Because each year, if a Star Wars film comes out, it's going to be some kid's first Star Wars film.
Yeah.
So in theory, there's going to be a lot of little kids that are probably going to be scared because this looks pretty violent
stuff.
Yeah,
And stuff. That shot with, well, another one of my favorite shots. I feel like a broken record. I absolutely love this trailer. That ground shot with the AT-ATs or AT-ATs, if you call them that. I don't think we've ever seen a shot like that in Star Wars before. It's like with the camera on the ground, following them, like POV shot with these things. It is very Battlefront how it's filmed, but that stuff's going to be intense as hell to watch, especially if we're going to have whole battle scenes like that. And Gareth Edwards is directing this one, right? The guy who did the new Godzilla film. And I think I saw a comment somewhere that he was really good. I didn't really like that Godzilla film, but he was really good with scale and making things feel really big and imposing.
He filmed from the human perspective. So if you watch Godzilla, the reveal of Godzilla is really good if you don't know what Godzilla is, which is the downfall of that film to me, because everyone knew what Godzilla is. So the way he shoots the AT-AT scene, you can kind of see the humans there. Then it kind of tilts up, and there you've got the AT-ATs, which are great. He did that in Godzilla a lot. You went to Godzilla, there was the tram scene. So in all honesty, fair play of Lucasfilm, they've given him creative freedom, or to a degree, his sort of style. I haven't seen Monsters yet. Everyone says to watch. It's meant to be really good. I mean, you live in near Nuneaton, that's where he came from. He's genuinely from a place close to where me and you live, which is really cool because now he's doing Star Wars. Yeah, the perspective is the human perspective, which for that AT-AT scene will hopefully be phenomenal. And you don't know how they're going to do it for other scenes because they're not going to reveal all their kind of cool bits in one go. There's going to be a lot more awesome stuff we don't see until the film comes out. But the AT-AT,
we'll probably get another trailer as well. I mean, we're both off to Star Wars Celebration, and it'd be really strange if they don't have some kind of big unveiling of a new trailer or a new character, piece of footage, whatever they're going to do.
Well, me and you both said we thought the first trailer would come out at Celebration. In all honesty, it makes sense to have a trailer in April for the December release because that is when Star Wars Celebration was last year when we got teaser 2. My gut instinct is what I told you about a year ago, that we'll get an episode 8 trailer at Celebration because it comes out a year after. Obviously, they pushed the release date back. However, they did still start filming in January.
I was going to say, they've been filming for a while, haven't they? They've definitely got some footage they could show us.
So I've got a very good feeling we'll get a proper Rogue One trailer, maybe even a clip. It depends how generous they want to be spoiler-wise. And then a episode 8 trailer, which is going to be incredible if they drop all of them in the same weekend.
I mean, this is all about speculation as well. I think that I don't really want them to because it would be an awesome reveal for the film, but to build the hype, they're probably going to do it. I think in the next trailer, they are going to have one quick shot of Vader because I think it's all but certain now that he's going to be in the movie. It's been rumored for ages whether they're going to get like people in the well, it's going to be a costume again. I don't know whether it's going to be like Hayden Christensen. There's rumors that he was going to be in it and things like that.
There was an article I saw yesterday, actually. There's an actor who we wouldn't recognise. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was the alien that put the headphones on. Apparently, Apparently this guy's 6'7", and there's rumours that he's playing Darth Vader, which makes him 2 inches taller than Dave Prowse, who played him in the original trilogy, which would be really cool. And obviously, I'm sure I've heard that we all know that Vader's going to be in it. You can hear general breathing, very small amount of it in that trailer. We know that James Earl Jones' likelihood is going to be voicing it, the same thing he's been doing in Rebels recently.
It will be great to see him back, especially. I don't want to give anything away if people haven't been reading speculation, spoilers, and things like that. But there is rumors of a scene that's going to happen with Vader, and if that happens, I said this in my reaction, it's probably going to be one of the greatest Star Wars scenes we'll ever see because it's something we've always heard that Vader's done and is ruthless and everything like that, but we've never really seen it on screen. So if that does happen, I can't wait for that scene. And to have, what was it, a 6'7" Vader in costume with James Earl Jones' voice back again, that's going to be amazing to watch. And it'll be a great introduction as well. I know his reveal at the beginning of episode 4 is fantastic, where the smoke clears and he walks through. You've already kind of seen him anyway a little bit if you've watched episode 3, but if you really see him in action in this and then go into 4, that just adds more weight to his character, I would say, when you get to 4.
I think it'll be like Kylo Ren in the sense that the opening scene of Force Awakens, the massacre, then Ren walks out. That was very Vaderish in its own right, very different though. But then he kills someone straight up. If they are going to play this ballsy game of this is darker, this is a war film, everything they've hyped up, the scene description, which I kind of read, is going to terrify children, today's children, in the sense that the 70s children were apparently shit scared of Vader. So obviously to us it wasn't as scary because it was an older film. If they go through with it, then he's going to have his reputation back because he's been in Rebels. I'm going to spoil it because you haven't seen it, but he's had these brief moments, but he hasn't really capitalized on it into the Vader that it should be. So I'm hoping that Rogue One can kind of bring this back, especially as levity going into the trilogy. But that's just based off a few episodes of Rebels. I won't spoil anything else.
I mean, we should talk more about the villains and stuff, because there is a scene in this where we see a hooded figure bowing down. You've got the Emperor's Imperial Guards on either side of the room, and you've got like a column, like a Bacta tank almost in the middle. Is that going to be Vader? From the back, it honestly doesn't look like him. I mean, why would Vader wear a hood and things like that now when he's got the helmet? So in all honesty, I don't think this is going to be Vader. It's probably going to be a new character. Some people think it's the Emperor, but why would the Emperor kneel to anyone? Unless they're going to bring Snoke into it, maybe, and they'll have him almost be like the Emperor's boss. But that really doesn't strike me as something the Emperor would do. But we know that it's going to be someone of authority with the Imperial Guards there. And I want to say the Imperial Guards are one of my favorite things in Star Wars. They look amazing. It's great to see them back. And another new villain as well. I just found out this before we hit record. It's the guy who played John Daggett in Dark Knight Rises. Is playing.
Oh yeah, Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah.
He was in. I forgot the name. The Ryan Gosling film. Very good, very underrated film. He's in that. I've forgotten the name, but I will find that out later on. When they kind of showed him in this trailer, because there was toy descriptions from a recent convention that there's the villain wearing all white robe, white sort of general gear.
Now, yeah.
And the best thing about seeing it, because he's only in 2 shots. One's him walking in the water, which looks great. The other one's him standing there, which looks like the Death Star, sort of I don't know what you call it. It's not really a bridge because it's a circle board. It hasn't got like a direct bridge, but where Leia watches that planet, it looks like he's there. The way he just posed, he looks very menacing. The best bit about that scene is that god-awful rumor of him being Grand Moff Tarkin with CGI over his face.
Oh, I hope that's not the case.
It's clearly not, because you can see his face, and he's clearly Grand Moff Tarkin, which is happy, because it'd be such a waste of a good actor for that. Just the way I'm now predicting it, if Tarkin is in this, it could be a surprise bit. I'm guessing they'll get the guy that played him in the episode 3 end scene. Same what they did with Mon Mothma. For continuity, that'd be very cool, I think. But he looks like a very intimidating way, just from the way he's posed.
I mean, his costume is great. I absolutely love that white Imperial armor, and I guess are they like medals? I guess they are on the chest piece.
I think it looks really cool. Very Empire-ish, very original trilogy. I know that sounds so obvious, but it's true.
Now, here's the thing as well. Like, I didn't even think about this. When I first saw the trailer and I did my reaction, I was just sort of like bombarded by new stuff. I couldn't really focus on it. It was very scattered. But after I watched it a few times, I was like, hang on, an Imperial guy in like white clothes. Could this be Grand Admiral Thrawn?
That's what...
and I think that's what a lot of people have been saying after this, haven't they?
When I saw the white stuff, I was like, is it Thrawn? Obviously, the legend canon has been wiped. I'm in good reasoning with that. If you want to read them, you can still read them. You can still buy them. Disney haven't stopped selling them. They've just rebranded it. I know it's upset a lot of people, but if you're going to spend $4 billion on a franchise, I'm not having some fans tell me what I can and can't write. I know that sounds bad, but that's the basis. But they've you've had these snippets of the legend canon, in Force Awakens. You can argue that Kylo Ren's mask is very similar to, I think,
Darth Revan, I think, isn't it?
Very similar design. So they're kind of taking it on, I'm saying, as inspiration, but they don't want to.
You had Starkiller Base as well, where they were using the title from Force Unleashed video game.
Exactly. So I'm liking these little nods, which are great, and I think the costume is of that. There's been very heavy rumors that season 3 of Star Wars Rebels will have Thrawn in it. I don't agree if it's going to be alien Thrawn. It hasn't been confirmed, but Dave Filoni says that you'll all find out something very special at Star Wars Celebration. So the Rebels panel is going to be a must-see for me. I don't think they'd risk putting thrown in there, but I'm loving the reference of the costume to it.
And I mean, I wouldn't be opposed if it was actually Thrawn. Because for anyone who doesn't know, if you're going to get into Legends at all or read any of the previous canon, if you're going to read one set of books, read the Thrawn trilogy, because for the longest time it was sort of the unofficial episode 7, 8, and 9 of the Star Wars saga. And I don't think I've finished the whole trilogy. I think I got halfway through the 8th one, but it is a fantastic book, and Thrawn is probably one of the best characters in the old Star Wars canon. But one of the things about his character in that was he was an alien. Now, I forget the species. It was... You see 2 of them in the Cantina bar in the original Star Wars. They're the blue face. It's the same one as what's the bounty hunter called from Clone Wars?
Oh, Cad Bane.
Cad Bane, yeah, it's the same species as that. The blue face with the red eyes, and the whole thing was that he was the only alien in the Imperial fleet. He was the only alien that the Emperor trusted. So clearly, the Emperor was just a massive raging racist in the Star Wars galaxy. But he was awesome. He was a great military tactician. He was just a really fascinating character to read. I wouldn't be opposed if this was Thrawn, because they can take the name, they can take the ideas, but they can do it however they want now the canon's been wiped. But it is a shame if they have ditched that whole kind of alien perspective, because that was a really nice take on the character. And I'm not really sure if placing Thrawn before episode 4 makes a whole lot of sense, but I mean, now they've got Kylo Ren and Snoke. You don't want to throw in Benicio del Toro is probably going to play a different villain as well. You don't want to convolute it too much with other villains. But I've got the picture up now of that one where you've got like the Death Star kind of diagram behind him, and it almost looks like he's got a lightsaber or something, or some kind of baton again. It's very much, it's on the hip, it's like a saber. So I have no idea what that's going to be.
It kind of shadows out, so it could be anything. Could even be a walking stick. We don't know what this guy's like. He might be crippled.
We see people fighting with sticks later on in the trailer, so it could be a stick.
Well, this is one of my favourite bits. If anyone's unfamiliar with it, I've seen the first one, the Ip Man trilogy, is the biopic on the instructor of Bruce Lee. I forgot his name, but it's Ip Man. That's the film. I think Ip Man might be his name, actually.
And you've recommended those movies to me. I still haven't seen them yet, but I've heard nothing but good things about them.
The martial arts in them is insane. The protagonist is Donnie Yen, and Donnie Yen is in this film. And when they announced him, I was buzzing for it. In that first picture, he looks kind of blind, so they're like, they've got to have him be a martial artist, or they've wasted it. Then in this trailer, we just see him with the stick, just beating the shit into stormtroopers. Not only doing that, is that he just walks into the middle of a group of them. He does not care. So whatever that's going to be, I am incredibly excited for, because it's just going to look awesome. And I know they're not having lightsabers in this film, but you can get beat to death with a stick. That's not a lightsaber in Star Wars, then something's going right.
We know that the Stormtrooper armor isn't all that great if they get beaten by Ewoks ultimately, but I just liked it because, one, his character looks like an absolute badass, and two, it's something we haven't really seen in the Star Wars universe. Like, as I was talking about, like, they're bringing in other ethnicities and things like that, and that's really cool, because this was like a Last Samurai moment. He just walks out and he's just sort of sword fighting and just knocking all these stormtroopers down. It's great to watch. And then we get another shot of the guy with the flamethrower. I don't know the actor's names in this, unfortunately, but he sort of runs out again with this. It looks like a flamethrower. He's got like a kind of pack on his back. It's just some really cool new imagery for Star Wars. And although it's different, it feels like it's, you know, right in the place of the series, and it's not out of place or anything like that. It's cool seeing the classic stormtroopers back again. Original armor, that was nice.
Yeah, and again, following off, I don't think episode 7 did it. They probably did do it, but when people get shot in Battlefront, they did it in the old saga. You got sparks that fly off rather than bullet holes. And in that scene of the guy running with the sort of flamethrower thing, you can just see the sparks flying everywhere. And obviously, then it comes to the attack bit, which I'm wondering. You never know. That could. I don't think that'd be the climax of the film, because I don't think they would have shown it yet. But
probably the second act, maybe. Maybe they get their asses kicked by the Empire a little bit.
That's what I'm thinking. The fact that there's going to be, like, you know, 3 or 4 AT-ATs shooting at people on the floor is probably going to want to be the most glorious scenes I've seen in a long time. And I was saying to you before we hit record that the AT-ATs look very... Their legs are very thin. They look very prototype-ish, and that's what Star Wars Rebels has done. So I'm wondering it could be something very similar. I don't think it's going to be the polished off AT-ATs that we've seen in Empire Strikes Back, but it's just so cool to see the AT-ATs come back, especially with the sort of modern tech we're going to get with it as well.
Well, here's the thing, Gob. I forgot to mention this in my reaction, but I thought about it afterwards. Saw what we were saying about the Death Star, and I guess Vader. I know he's not in this trailer, but how if you watch this before Episode 4, how it's going to change things. I'm wrong because I know that AT-ATs have showed up, or like different versions of them throughout the trilogy before Empire. But how I always thought it was is when they're on Hoth and they have the binoculars and sort of the smoke clears and they see them emerging from the smoke. I always thought that was the first time they'd ever been deployed in combat, because you really get that sense of the rebels' face like, oh shit, what are these things we've got to fight now? That's probably a bunch of bullshit anyway, because they know how to beat them. They know they've got to get the snow speeders with the tow cable. So clearly they've fought them before, but it was, I compared it to the moment in Lord of the Rings Return of the King where the Rohan forces are fighting and then King Theoden looks over and the Mumakil, the Oliphants, are charging towards them and they've never seen them before. It was a moment like that for me. So I don't know whether it's going to lessen the effect of Empire. I think most people, well, there's all different orders you can show people the movies now, whether you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or original trilogy first. I always suggest going with original trilogy first because I think that all the surprises in that should remain intact with that trilogy. But it is going to be interesting if people are going to do a marathon in sequential order now we get in these spin-offs, and how ultimately that's going to have a knock-on effect to the future movies.
Yeah, because the way I'm guessing it's going to go now is in terms of numerics 1, 2, 3, Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'd give it a go watching that because obviously I'd have seen all the others, but the way I showed it to one of my friends was 4, 5, 6, then 7. We haven't seen 1, 2, 3 yet. We will eventually, but I think the likelihood of everything going now is going to be 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7. That's the way I'd still like to show people, but then you show the spin-offs after. But there's like what 4 or 5 orders with the 6 films. Now there's going to be 9. Sorry, not 9, 11 minimum. Be all over the place. But it's intriguing. But the AT-AT stuff, I think they're still going to have to do something, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I reckon. First time the rebels have seen them, they look like they're shitting themselves, to be fair.
Well, they're like running at them on foot, and that's like, if anyone's played Battlefront, that's a big no-no. Never charge an AT-AT just on foot. It's never going to work well. I'm kind of running out of other stuff to talk about. Forrest Whitaker looks really cool. We haven't talked about him all that much. He looks like a grizzled veteran, how he sort of like hobbles into frame. He's got the armor on. He's got the stick. There's a lot of people fighting with sticks in this film, which is great. Because there's no lightsabers. As far as we know, if Vader's in it, we'll probably get a lightsaber. But in terms of like actual Jedi and things, not to be seen in this trailer so far. And I like that because I want it to stand on its own. You don't really need lightsabers and stuff to make it a Star Wars movie. And this is a spin-off. You've only got the tagline, a Star Wars story underneath. So I think this film can still be engaging enough with just having the Rebels and the Empire and gun battles, things like that. One shot I do want to talk about is that was talking about the villains earlier. This really is when the Empire is at the height of their power, I would say, where they finally got the Death Star in place. And what's really awesome is that we're seeing the stormtroopers rounding people up on the planets and being threatening. They're not the classic always miss. I think they only hit Princess Leia with a stun ray at the start, and then after that they just miss everyone else. They're not the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Just uncontrollable force that just get easily beaten. We get the new stormtroopers in this in the black armor, which looks amazing. You get the big column of smoke in the background. These mean business in this one, and that's really cool because Force Awakens did this, where they showed the massacre at the start. They showed the stormtroopers actually being effective, and I think this movie is going to do just that as well as give us new stormtrooper armor and costumes, which is great because it feels right in place with Star Wars. Plus, it means more toys to buy, more Black Series figures that are going to get released, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm loving the Scout Troop. Has always been one of my favorite designs, and there's now like a camo on them, which looks very cool. Obviously, we kind of saw that in Revenge of the Sith, but it looks awesome to see it in the old trilogy style. But the Black Stormtroopers, I'm guessing, again, the Shadow Troopers are part of the old Legends. They've clearly now made it onto the main roster, I think you could call it. So that's a very good promotion. It'll be very interesting because obviously they then disappear for the next 3 films. So they could be, But I'm guessing they're going to be the sort of in 300's 10 the Immortals.
And that'll be awesome if that pans out that way. And then we just get a bunch of running shots as well. Looks really cool. We get this weird robot thing sort of following Felicity Jones's character. And is that Diego Luna? Is it? We don't really see much of him in the trailer, in all honesty. But yeah, I think we've pretty much gone through everything. Is there anything you can think of? You want to sort of round out overall thoughts? Anything else you can think of that we haven't talked about?
I think I've covered everything, but I want to reiterate the point that this film is great and it's the right start for where this spin-off series is going to go. I think that's mainly everything. It just looks great. I'm really excited for it. I'm trying to come down off the hype this year. I don't think I'll ever get as badly hyped as I was last year because last year was an event.
Well, it had been so long since Star Wars had been a thing, hadn't it? And it was the big comeback, so nothing's going to ever top that. But yeah, I mean, I was concerned about these spin-off movies. I thought, oh, they're not going to match up in quality. And then this trailer came out, and that's just put all my concerns aside. I'm really hyped for this movie. I can't wait. I'll be there opening night. And I just love how it looks like it's fitting into the original trilogy. Like even the grids in like the Rebel base, the big lit up grids, Mon Mothma, AT-ATs, stormtroopers, everything like that. It's all great to see the art stuff, and it makes more sense that we're seeing that stuff in this one because it does take place right before 4. One of my complaints with Force Awakens, and I'm not going to turn that into a Force Awakens review, but was that it was too much old stuff, and it was really at a time when we needed more new stuff. This makes complete and utter sense that we're getting all this, and I can't wait for it. I could leave it at this trailer, and they could bring nothing else out, and I would still be hyped for this movie, but you know they're going to keep cranking them out. You're going to get the TV spots, everything like that, but it's all good. Star Wars is back. The hype is back, and yeah, I can't wait for it. So that'll do it for our Rogue One, a Star Wars story trailer discussion. Be sure to subscribe and drop a comment. Let us know what you thought of the trailer. I know I've got my reaction video up, but this one we could go much more in depth and talk about a lot of stuff. So let us know some of the things you like, some of the things you're concerned about, whatever you like. Please do drop us a comment. In terms of what's coming up on the channel, I know we'll have our Jungle Book review, which will probably be up at the start of next week, I think, by the time everyone can get to see it and we can get on for a review. Looking forward to that one. And right now, I've got to jump on and get about 4 or 5 reaction videos done. There's been a lot of trailers come out the last couple of days, Doctor Strange, and I need to get on them. So that's what I'm going to do after this. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And until the next video, we'll see you next time.